Hello, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. Can you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Hello, hello. Okay, got it. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of the virtual church navigating new realities. We have another very, very, very impactful night. I am Tim Reddick, and I serve as the worship director here, NYATL. We're going to dive right in. We have Channing B. Nash tonight. She is head of communications and administration. She has a lot for you tonight. Yo, hold on to your seats. Y'all get ready. Channing, where you at? Let's go.
Hey y'all, I am so excited, Tim. You are cracking me up asking people if they can hear you. Like they can talk back to you. Tim, this
I was looking at the comments.
is not true. They can't talk back to you, baby.
I was looking at the comments to see what they were. Okay.
Hopefully they can hear you. Hopefully they can hear me. I'm so excited. Thank you for that amazing introduction. You all who are here for administration communication, and I do serve as the director of administration and communication. A little bit about me before we get into tonight's teaching. I have been working on some things for my own personal business, and as I sat back and started to reflect on my life, I was completely young, hold on just a second for me.
Okay, so we're having just a couple of technical difficulties. But until then, until we get that fixed, I have a question for you guys. You here now? You here? You here?
I don't know. Chandler told me to go ahead and talk now, so I'm talking now just to see if that's a little bit better. I'm gonna keep talking.
You sound amazing, Chandler. You sound amazing.
I sound good, but they telling me I don't.
You sound good now.
I want the people of God to be able to hear me on tonight, huh?
We hear you loud and clear. Go for it.
Is that better?
Yes.
I'm waiting for the man of God to let me know. Yes. Okay. Perfect. It's saying that. Okay. My input levels are good. Okay. We're back. We're back. We're back. Let me go ahead and go back into my little. All right. Peace out, Tim. Thank you. Yeah. So as I was saying, I was doing some work reflecting all that over the years. Y'all, I realized I have for 15 years in the game as it pertains to administration. That is all glory to God. I have worked for companies like BMW. I have worked for companies like Disney and NBC Universal. I have worked for the government. I have worked in so many different spheres. And it was always my dream job to be able to take what I learned in those arenas and those environments and to bring it to the church. So when Pastor LeBryant came to me with the opportunity to be the administrative assistant for All Nations Atlanta, I said yes. There was not even a question, because I absolutely love what All Nations Atlanta stood for. And I just wanted to be a blessing to him and to the church and to the people. So that is how I got to this point. Now listen, y'all looking at me and I got on my lashes and I got on my little earrings and I got on my leopard print or whatever. I have not always been a girly girl. I have been into things like video games. And so my presentation tonight is going to be centered around a video game theme. Now, we've been getting a lot of really good teachings. My teaching is a little more practical. I want to help you guys be able to get your systems and processes in order. So like I was saying, I'm into video games. And so our theme for tonight is going to have kind of like a video game feel to it. So let me go back. This is the virtual church navigating new realities, but this is also going to be what I call cheat code. So the name of this presentation is cheat codes. I'm really going to break down some of the common problems in administration and communications, and I'm going to give you some solutions for those things. So when I was growing up, my uncle introduced me to video games, and he always told me, you do not start a video game without your cheat codes, okay? Now, you might be saying, now wait, that's a little off. Like, why do you want to cheat? So listen, I believe in working smarter and not working harder. So these are things that are going to help you in your church be able to do things a little more efficiently, a little more effectively. Okay, so these are my cheat codes. First, as we get into this, I want you to choose your level. Now, everybody on this stream tonight, we don't all have 20,000 members, right? We're not all mega churches. Some of us have a good, faithful 200 to 500. I want you to really analyze where you are in your church. So think about your financial stability. Think about your membership numbers. Think about the tech savviness of your congregation. If you have an older congregation, you may not want to use some of these things because it requires a lot of tech savviness in order for them to be effective. So begin to think about where you fall on this spectrum from beginner to intermediate to advanced, okay? So think about that, and I'm going to give you solutions and tools for each level. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. In any good video game, you know it opens up with a good prologue. Do I have any video gamers? I can't see y'all in the chat, but just let me know if you've played video games. I'm a Tekken girl, Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, all of that stuff. Okay, let me know. All right, so the opening, the prologue. Now, this is for my administrators. Listen, yesterday was Administrative Professionals Day. So I just want to stop and take a moment to appreciate each and every one of you. Hear me, admin. If you don't hear it enough, you are valued. You have a purpose. There is meaning to everything that you do, okay? I don't want you to feel like you're just somebody who takes notes in the meeting. You're just somebody who answers the phone. You're just somebody who sits and just does what is told of you. No, you are somebody who can see problems as they come. You can see problems brewing, and you can go ahead and forecast solutions. So I empower you. You are like a bridge, okay? On one hand, you have people who, Justin talked about it, you have those who are visionaries, and then you have those who are executors. You also have those who are in leadership, and then you have your congregants. You are the bridge to all of that stuff. Without you, people would drown. So I want you to know that there is purpose and there is value in everything you do as an administrator, okay? You are also acting as a shield for your leader. For me, I'm the executive administrator to Pastor LeBryant. And there are moments and times when people come to me, and I know if you're an admin, you serve your senior leader, you have people coming to you and they just want to pull on your leader. They just want to pull. They want to suck the life out of your leader. And so we at All Nations Atlanta, our team, we are focused on preserving our leader. Right now, he is pastoring 2 different churches. And so we want to make sure that he has everything he needs to be able to keep going for years and years and years to come. On the other side of that, he is also a husband and he's a father. And so for me, as a woman who grew up in a single parent household without a father, I want for him to be able to give to Mother Fanika, to all of the girls, to the friendless. I want him to be able to give all of himself to them. And so for administrators, we act as a shield. There are moments and times when people, they want to touch their leader. And my pastor is a touchable pastor, but there are moments and times when people want to they come to him with stuff like, hey, pastor, I just want you to endorse my latest venture. And that doesn't necessarily need a meeting. He doesn't have an hour to give to every single person who is launching something new, right? But what we have done is we have put things in place for the people of God to get what they need from our senior leadership. So what does that look like? We have pastoral care. We have our elders. We have people who are set up to be the heart and the hands of Pastor LeBryant. I mean, think about it this way. If you're a parent, and even if you're not, but just imagine for a moment that you're a parent and your child is coming to you, you're working on a presentation that's due in 15 minutes. And then your child comes to you and wants to talk 10 minutes about this hand drawing that they did in class. And as much as you want to hear everything that your child is saying to you, this presentation, what you're working on for your job or whatever the case is, that's very important. And you need to get that done. That doesn't take away from the fact that you have this child who needs you, but you can say, hey, I think your big brother or your big sister might be able to hear all about what you got to say about this hand drawing. I'm gonna come in there in just a moment. I got you in a second. Just let me finish working on this right now. And so what we have done is we have created a circle around him. And so as an administrator, you serve as the shield to your leader. You keep certain blows from coming to him. I count it as an honor to be able to protect my leader, to be able to help preserve my leader, to be able to make sure that when he goes home, he is able to give his all to his wife and his children. Okay, so please, 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 admin, everything you need to get through this pandemic is already on the inside of you. All you have to do is tap in. All right. So let's get into it. I've got, like I told you, I have problems and I have solutions. So the common problems of administration and communications, and then I'm going to give you some solutions for those. All right. So the first problem, let me go to the next slide, is organization. Now listen, it is so important for administrators to be organized. Now you're going to see in a few moments, I have a slide at the end of this section that tells you why it's so important for administrators and those who work in communications to be extremely organized. I'm going to go to the next slide. All right, so my solution for this, and this is what we use at All Nations Atlanta. So there are so many different systems and so many different softwares out there that I could talk about. I'm just going to give you what we use at All Nations Atlanta. So it'll help you kind of get into how we do things over here. So my solution for organization within your organization is your internet domain and your G Suite by Google. Okay. If you don't have a domain name, I would encourage you strongly to get one. So what is that? That's what comes after the @ symbol in all of your ministries' email addresses. So ours is at allnationsatl.org. If you have several leaders who just have all of these different random email addresses, Pretty Eyes 64 or biceps23@gmail.com, when you start sending stuff out to get grants and to do business work, it looks a little sketch if everybody, the people who are in charge and sending out these emails, don't have a uniformed domain name, don't have uniformed email addresses. So I would highly encourage you to work on getting your domain and then cycling that. If you use something else, I'm gonna tell you what we use. If you use something else, that's fine. Just make sure you have that domain name. GoDaddy is a good one, so I'm gonna go ahead and go over to that one. Helps you to remain unified and organized. Okay, so as you can see right here, this is GoDaddy. This is what we have used. Initially, we were using GoDaddy and we were using their email system as well, but the email system for GoDaddy is extremely antiquated. I do not recommend it. It does not allow you the same freedom that you would have if you use the G Suite, which is what I highly recommend. But this is where you can go if you do not have a domain. Again, what comes after the @ sign in your email address. So whatever your church name is, I would suggest that you put that after the @ sign, and you can go ahead and purchase that website. Some of you may already have websites, but you may not have email addresses that line up with that website. I would encourage you to go ahead and look into that, and I'm going to show you a little bit more about how to do that. All right, so first, I'm going to give you what we use. So there is G Suite for so many different things. So they have G Suite for enterprises, G Suite for retail, G Suite for education. We use G Suite for nonprofits. And the reason we do that, as you can see on the screen, it's $0. This is actually really small, but you guys are going to get this presentation. I'll make sure you get it after this call or whatever. So G Suite for nonprofit, what is normally $6 for each user, it's actually $0. So we don't pay anything for our emails. And G Suite comes with a lot of amazing tools, a lot of things that help to keep you organized. So I'm going to go through some of those things in just a second. Now, depending on where you are, remember I told you to think about what level you're at. You may need something a little more comprehensive. So they do have options where they charge you $4 per user or $8 per user. Like I said, we currently use the $0 one, because that's really all we need. All right, so the next one is the regular G Suite. Now listen, admin, even if your church is not in a position where they have a nonprofit, and I would suggest that if you are not a nonprofit already, I suggest that you go ahead and become a nonprofit. Yolanda talked a lot about the CARES Act and how you can take advantage of that if you are a nonprofit. So just in case anything like this happens and there are tax breaks for nonprofits, you want to make sure you go ahead and get on that now. But listen, if you are an admin and you do not have the ability to get G Suite for nonprofit for whatever reason, you can still get a regular G Suite account. And this, like I was showing you on the last slide, what is typically $6 is $0 for nonprofits, but for the regular one, of course, it's $6, and you have the $12 option, and then you have the $25 option. Now, when I was just doing volunteer work at the church before I came on staff, I had just a regular Gmail account. And this is what comes in the G Suite if you're not familiar with it. So you have things like Google Forms, which allows you to gather a bunch of information. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. You have slides. This is where you can do your presentations on. You have things like, let's see here, your chat where you can text message, you can do Hangouts. Similar to Zoom, you can have something on Google, and all the people in your organization can have access to this, even if they don't have, you know, accounts for Zoom and all that other stuff. So this is what I highly recommend. I do recommend the G Suite for organization. All right. All right. So the next thing that I use for organization, we use Church Community Builder. Okay. Now this is for those who may be a little more advanced. G Suite is really for those, it can be for anybody, but if you want to keep stuff organized, you can use your G Suite for that. And I can give you more information about that at a later time if you need more details on that. But Church Community Builder is what we currently use now, and it helps us to stay organized. Now there is a price for this. From the low end, it's $90 a month, and then on the other end, it's $180 a month. And so as you can see here, if you can make this screen just a little bit bigger, what it does is it allows you to have all of your members in here. That's what will be under the people. Then you have check-ins. This is for your events. If you want to make sure that the people who RSVP are in the building, or you want to make sure that if they didn't RSVP, they can't get in the building, you have that check-in. Then you also have schedules. This is for your teams to be able to schedule out who's serving what Sunday. You can use that schedules option. Then you have giving. I think this is one of the main reasons why we went over to this system, is because this is an all-in-one type of system, okay? It allows you to track all of the stuff, people, check-ins, scheduling for your volunteers, giving. I can see my giving from the time we started using the service up until now. So every person will have their own profile, and you can go in and you can look at your own profile. Security and confidentiality is a big thing with them. So I can't see anybody's profile who doesn't want me to see their profile, okay? And let's just say some random visitor who decides to sign up using our visitor card, they can only see their profile. Okay, so you don't have to worry about everybody being able to see everybody's business, because there is a lot of information inside the system, like your address and your birth date. But like I said, everybody cannot see everything. Only administrators are able to see what's on the back end of things. And then you have your groups. So this is what we use for our small groups. So our small groups are thriving right now during this pandemic. They're able to stay in contact with each other. They have a little space. Each group, each small group has their own little space within Church Community Builder. And then we also have things like processes. So for our first-time visitors, we have a process for them. But for the people who want salvation, we have a process for them. So they go into the system, and then it alerts somebody who was in that process queue, somebody who is managing that process queue. So let's say somebody gets saved. They get a phone call or they get an email, and then they keep going through this process queue until they reach the end. So there are several different steps in the queue, and it makes sure that everybody feels touched, everybody can be engaged with, okay? All right, so I talked a little bit about why organization is so important. I was reading a book on administration not too long ago, and one thing that really shook me was this article. They talked about how a lack of organization cost PepsiCo $1.6 billion. Can you guys make that just a little bit bigger for me? There we go. All right, so you see down here at the bottom, it's highlighted. It says a Wisconsin judge has ordered PepsiCo to pay $1.26 billion, and I'm gonna skim a little bit, after a secretary mislaid a document alerting the world's #2 soft drink maker the law existed. Listen, for that, I'm sure whoever the secretary was no longer had a job after that. And if you want grace, ask God for grace, because you just cost us $1.26 billion. Admins, hear me. Organization is so important. It is integral to what you do, okay? Listen, you can use Google Sheets or you can use Excel. For a situation like this, in my mind, what that says to me is I need to create a mail log, because if Pepsi is getting mail all the time, I need to make sure that I'm able to track everything that comes through these doors. And then I need to make sure that I scan it. And then I can go ahead and create a folder on my computer. Or if you have the G Suite, which I love, you have your drive where you can create different folders and different subcategories. Organization is so necessary, and the G Suite helps you to remain organized at all times. I will forever advocate for the G Suite. It is a simple way free or paid for you to stay organized. And like you see here, a lack of organization can be extremely costly. All right. All right, so we're done with organization. We're going to move on to our next problem that can be presented during this pandemic, and that's data collection. Okay, so right now, a lot of people are dealing with losses, whether that is in their finances or whether that's in family. And so for you as an administrator, depending on how your teams are set up, depending on how your church is set up, you want to make sure that you have a space for these people to let leaders know, hey, something is going on with me. I'm experiencing loss. Whatever you want, whatever kind of system you want to put in place to be able to touch these people is going to be important for you to have data collection. Okay, so my solution for that, of course, is Google Forms. Now listen, you need to have a mailing list. And I don't want to assume that everybody has a mailing list. I don't know who is on the call. I don't know how many members and things you have, but you need to make sure you have a mailing list. That's first. Then you can do Google Forms, or if you decide to go with the church community builder route like we use, there's a way for you to do forms in there as well. Okay, excuse me, y'all. All right, so like I said, if you don't have a mailing list, that's cool. I can show you how to get one. If you have a smaller church, it's best to do something like manual entry. Go ahead and hop on that as soon as you all get back. Having a mailing list is so key to what you do in your church. You need to be able to communicate with your people quickly, and having a mailing list allows you to draft up whatever it is you need to communicate with them and shoot it out instead of trying to figure out everybody's sending text messages to one place, sending a Slack somewhere else, sending something via a Facebook group. No, you want to make sure that you have a mailing list so that everything can be streamlined and easy for you. Work smarter and not harder, admin. All right, so if you're more at like a beginner level, you have a smaller congregation, or you may just have an older congregation, they don't do all that technology stuff, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do a manual entry. If you as an administrator have a computer and you're able to capture people's information that way, you're absolutely welcome to do that as well. So as people, you can ask people, your older people, spell your name for me, spell your first name, your last name, give me your email address if they have an email, your phone number, however they want to be contacted. So you can do that. And then if you have the Google Forms, like I was saying, even if your church doesn't have a business G Suite, you as an administrator can get your own free Gmail. You don't have to pay for anything. Get your own Gmail and it'll allow you to have the Google Suites. You can use the Google Form and then you can send that out via your group. So whether that's via Slack or whether that's via Facebook. Again, this is just to get your information, get the information from the people that you need to send information to. So however you are communicating with your people now, you would create that form that has things like their name, their birthday, their address, their phone number, all of that stuff. Get it, and then once you have that form, send it out. And then Church Community Builder, which is a little more advanced, you can also do the same, create a form and then send that out however you send out information now. All right, so this is Google Forms. For the next few slides, I just have a few examples of how we use them. This is just a form that I created for a leadership meeting RSVP. Like you see, all of these important categories are here. You have the name. I didn't go into all of the sensitive information because I want to honor people's information. So you have that. This is your Google form. And what I like about Google Forms is if you're trying to figure out something like, I don't know, let's say you're trying to figure out what time works best for you all to do Facebook Live for a live Bible study or something like that. You can create a question where it gives them the option to choose, hey, I'm free at 6, I'm free at 7, I'm free at 8. And then like you see down here, it'll give you a pie chart. So you'll be able to see what the best time is for everybody on your team. Okay. So up here, you also see that it has a bar graph. So in this example, I was asking people what ministry they serve in. So you can also see how many people from different ministries are planning to attend or whatever the case is, whatever you're using this form for. So there's so much data that you can gather in one place and it's super simple for you to do so. All right, this is Church Community Builder. This is how we build forms over here. This is our actual Visitor Connect card. And so it has just that key information, the data that we want to capture from our visitors. We take this information and we put them in a process queue. So we're able to know this person visited on this date, and then we can track their progress. So what we want to do is take them from visitor. We call them partners at All Nations Atlanta, but you may call them members. We want them to go from visitor to partner. And this allows us to track their progression through our church. So they went from being a visitor, they joined, and we can see everything that happened. So every person that touched them inside Church Community Builder, you're able to see all of that. So you can collect data using the forms there as well. All right, as you can see, there is a pie chart here as well. And then in that top right corner, you'll see something that says export form responses. That allows you to have a spreadsheet. You can have your spreadsheet and you can send that out to whoever it needs to go out to. There are process queues in this system, but if for any reason you need to go ahead and export this, you can absolutely do that. All right, so our next problem is communicating with members. Now, in this time, people want to know that their church is thinking about them. They want to make sure that their pastor still has them on their hearts and their minds. People want to feel touched. They want to feel like they're still a part of what's going on with your church, okay? So here are my solutions for that. You have your newsletter. You have your announcements. We have since moved from a newsletter to an app. I could talk about that. I did not include that in the presentation, but we use our app now because we find that newsletters after a certain point in time, they aren't really as effective, but if you have a smaller congregation, this is probably the best route for you. Then you have your regular check-ins, and then you have opportunities for engagement. So these are the solutions for communicating with members. All right, first, you want to make sure if you have a newsletter, the first option is MailChimp. All right, so you can see that you can get the option for $0, which allows you to have up to 2,000 users. And then they do have email automations. So automations, I really love automations because you can set certain parameters around them. So when someone is added, they can get an automatic email, and that takes stress off of you as an admin to follow up with, let's say when you come back from the pandemic, that there are 30 first-time visitors. And instead of you manually sending an email or BCCing everybody on an email, you can just drop them from whatever that data collection, from what we talked about last time. You can get all that data, get a little spreadsheet, drop it into MailChimp, tag them as visitors, and they'll get an automatic email, so you don't even have to think about it. So I love email automations. And then they also have email templates. So if you send out a weekly newsletter and it looks pretty much the same, you're just changing some key points in there, it's best for you to go ahead and use an email template. Now, again, assess where you are. We don't actually use this. I use this for my personal business. It's actually what we're using to send you the information for this conference. So if you just need something really quick, option, but then you see they have 3 other options as well. All right, my next option is constant contact. That's what we used for a while before we transitioned over to our app. The price is between $20 and $45 a month. On the lower end, you have 5,000 users. And again, this one does have email automations. I think you do pay a little bit more for them to be automated. And then you do have the email templates as well. So this is another option for you if you need more users, because MailChimp, like I said, stops on the lower end. It stops at 2,000. But if you need a few more, if you have more than 2,000 members or 2,000 people in total, then you can go ahead and use this option. All right, and I'm singing the praises of Church Community Builder. Included in your subscription, there is a way for you to build out a newsletter and send it out to everybody who is within that system. Okay, so it is, like I said, $90 to about $180 a month on the higher end. On the low end, you have unlimited users. You also get email automations, and you do get email templates. So just think about it. If you have several different systems that you're using because they cost a little less, if you start to add all of that stuff out, add all of it up. So you have things like Planning Center. I didn't really talk about that. You have Planning Center, and then maybe you have like a MailChimp. By the time you add all of those systems up, those costs that you pay per month, you're probably going to be at about $90. So it would be best for you to go ahead and invest in something like Church Community Builder, which allows you to do all of it within one system. Okay, I think that's one of the reasons, another reason why we decided to go with it, so that we didn't have to pay for so many different systems, and we can just have one system that does it all. Okay. All right, so this is for check-ins. So as it pertains to check-ins, I think a good way to do that is via Facebook Live. And it's best done in a Facebook group. And this is for check-ins that don't really require a lot of verbal engagement. So our pastor did a surprise pop-up. He did some check-ins the other day. This is best if he doesn't want everybody, all 1,000, 2,000 people trying to talk at the same time. You know what I'm saying? when you're on Zoom, and most of us have been, you know that there are moments and times when you got somebody crying, it's a baby crying in the background, it's a dog barking, it's just a lot going on. And so this is best if your leader just wants to do a real quick check-in. He can read the comments as they come in, but it doesn't allow people to talk at will. And then you have your Google Hangouts. So if you have the G Suite, this does come standard with Google Hangouts. It's best for your smaller check-ins, right? So if you have a group of people that you want to meet with, so if you want to meet with just your ministry leaders, I would suggest a Google Hangout or a Zoom. There is no time limit for a Google Hangout, but if you use the free version of Zoom, it is going to have time and participant limitations. You can only get to about 100. We tried that on Easter. We had a huddle on Zoom for Easter, and it maxed out on us at about 100 people. So if you are someone if you are part of a church that has more than 100 volunteers and you need to get all of them together, you might want to look into like a webinar version, or you can do something else, okay? All right, so as far as it pertains to engagement, I found this, and I've been using this for my own group that I am a part of. It's going to be very important for you to intentionally find ways to engage with your members during this time. And this is just outside of ministry, outside of what's going on at the church. You want to find ways to make them feel loved, make them feel touched, make them feel heard. So some of them need a space to vent, a space to feel connected, a space where they can get a good laugh or be honest about their fears. This is something that I posted, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, and every day it gives you a daily prompt. So this is just for you to get to know them outside of what they do at the church. If you want to hear about, how they're feeling during this pandemic, there are daily prompts. Every day there's a new prompt, and everybody can go in there and they can add their own journal entry. Okay, so the prompt has fill in the blanks, and then every person fills in the blanks. And then you can kind of go through and scroll and see how people are doing. And you, as an administrator, can send this over to your leaders and say, hey, I think this is a good idea. I think we should do something like this so that we can engage with our people on more than just a ministry level. We want to engage with them, in their everyday lives. So this is a good one. If you want more information on this app, let me know. You can send me an email. The email that you guys have been getting all week, admin@allnationsatl.org. Again, that's admin@allnationsatl.org. And I can give you more information about this app if this is something that you are interested in. All right, so problem number 4, team productivity and accountability. So it's very easy. It is very easy for us to get into a space where we're like, oh, we're home, we're not doing anything. So I got work that I need to do, but I'm just gonna kind of take my time and get around to it. So what you don't want to do is allow work to pile up so much, work for yourself or work from your team members to pile up to where you get to the point where you all are back in the church and now you're scrambling trying to get everything done. Okay, so team productivity and accountability is a must during this time. Okay, the pandemic may have shut down the actual building, but the work of ministry still has to get done. All right. So my solution for this is Basecamp. Moving to the next one. Basecamp it can go from $0 to $99 a month. On the most basic level, you can get 20 users. So this is perfect if you don't have a lot of ministry leads, you don't have a lot of people that you need to hold accountable. And you can have 3 projects. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about projects in just a second. And like I was talking about in the last section, if you have so many different systems and processes that you end up paying for, once you kind of tally those up and you look at the total cost, you want to get something where you can have everything you need in one at maybe a comparable cost or a lower cost, because it's going to cause there to be less work for you to do. You don't have to bounce between so many different apps, so many different systems, so many different processes. If you can get it all in one, I would say get it all in one. And that's what Basecamp does for us. All right, so this is just a quick snapshot of what's inside our Basecamp. If you can make that a little bit bigger for the people so they can see it. So each level gets a little more specific. Let's wait for them to make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. But at the top, let me see if I can move my mouse over here. It's really small. So up here where you see, there we go. All right, so the All Nations at the top, it says All Nations Worship Assembly Atlanta. So every person who is going to use Basecamp should be in this top tier. This is where everybody lives. If you want to send out a mass, just a mass message to everybody real quick, you can do that right here in that top tier. Once you move down, you have your different teams. So this is where it breaks out into your ministries. Now, if I were to be able to see all of the teams that are inside Basecamp, this whole page would be full. I can only see what teams I'm a part of. So you can see that I have 4 teams here. And then from those teams, you can get a little more specific. Let's say myself and one of my coworkers are working on fire conference. I see that in the middle. We can move down there to the projects tier, and then those of us who are working on fire can commune there. All right. So inside one of these tiers, and now all these tiers look the same. So what you see right here on this tier, this is one of the project tiers. Inside that main tier, the projects tier, the teams tier and the projects tier, it'll look just like this right here. And so what happens is you're able to see that there is a campfire. This is for anybody to post whatever they want. So if you want to post a meme or something that is really funny of one of your leaders or something like that, you can post that in there. And then you have a message board that's a little more streamlined. It allows whoever is in charge to post, give out announcements that need to be sent out. Then you have your to-do list. This is for accountability. This is for team productivity. People can assign tasks to other people. Now, any team member can assign a task to anybody on. It doesn't have to be the administrator. It can be anybody on that team. Then you have your schedule. This is, as you can see, we have our staff meetings. We don't necessarily have all of our information in the schedule, but just the things that pertain to this team, that's what we would put on that schedule. And there's a calendar in there as well. And then you have automatic check-ins, which I'm going to talk about next. And then you have a space for your documents and files. One thing I like about Basecamp is that it does integrate with the G Suite. So if you are like I do, I take notes in the Notes app in the G Suite, and then I'm able to upload our notes right into Docs and Files in Basecamp. So if anybody needs to see those notes, they can go right here into Docs and Files and get the information that they need. All right, so automatic check-ins, that's something that we use. Pastor LeBryant actually uses it for us as office staff, and it asks us at the top of every week, what are you working on this week? And so we go in, we type what we're working on this week, and then from there, he's able to track our progress, track our productivity, and then we as team members can see, hey, my team member didn't get this completed. Maybe I should help them out. What's going on? Is everything good with you? We can hold each other accountable. And that's major for teams, whether that's a ministry team, whether that's your office staff. You want to make sure that you're clocking productivity and accountability. Because like I said, once the pandemic is over, we want to make sure that we've already done hard work, that we're not coming back into a building and we're having to do a bunch of stuff on the back end that we could have been doing while we were lounging in our pajamas. All right, so this is just an example of a to-do list. And so every person for our staff has their own to-do list. Right here, what you see is just the office staff to-do list. And so that's for everybody who is on office staff, and then their individual task list. And like I said, if you have somebody who is working with you and they want to assign you a job, you can do that here in the to-do list. All right. So that is cheat codes, solutions for common administration and communications problems during a pandemic. I thank you all for your time. If you guys have questions, we can bring Tim back over and I can take some questions now. Timmy, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi,
Hello.
Tim.
Hello.
How are ya?
I'm good. You did a phenomenal job. You gave so much information.
Listen, I started looking at the time. I was like, let me speak a little bit faster.
Y'all,
It needs a light. I'm getting I need my little rag or something. It's a little warm in here.
You done worked yourself up. Work yourself up. You done talked yourself up.
I feel like I need to get a good hoop in here. I done worked up the sweat.
You packed this hour with so much info. So much info.
Well, praise God. Listen, if you guys have any questions, again, my email address is admin@allnationsatl.org.
So there is a question. LaWanda Stacy.
Hi,
she asked, how do you get a church to understand that utilizing systems and processes are necessary?
Ooh.
What would you say to that?
That is,
my Lord.
Understand. I would do my research on the ways in which systems and processes, the lack of systems and processes has caused there to be either, like in that Pepsi article, like the lack of organization, the lack of a system, the lack of a process, it cost Pepsi literally billions of dollars. So I tell my administrators, listen, you can't make your leaders and the people that you support, you can't make them do anything, but you can make suggestions. You have to be confident in yourself enough to say, hey, I am so invested in this, and I want to make sure that I'm protecting what we are building here. I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to find out how systems and a lack of systems and organization has cost other churches, has cost big companies. I think in doing your research and presenting it, I don't think that's rude. I don't think that's too forward. I think that's you saying, I'm invested in this, and I want to see this grow. And right now, we're doing a lot, and we're having to do it manually, and it's wearing us out. And you want to make sure that you are protecting your people. You want to make sure that you're protecting people that serve. And so, you as an administrator, I would charge you. You have the power to do that research and present it in a way. Don't go in there. Don't go in there and bulldog. Like, this is what we need to do. Okay. I want you to be soft about it, be integral about it, but present your research and let them know, hey, I really think it would be best if we take the time to invest in systems and processes, because if not, we could be on a slippery slope. Yeah.
Nice. That was good. Another question from Anaya Williams. What was the name of the app with the prompts?
Oh, that's called Long Walk. And if you're interested in that, send me an email because I can set. So I'm actually working with them. This app is still in development, and so I can put you on and help you get that going.
Beautiful, beautiful. A couple more questions. I saw someone asked, is it ideal to use 2 different platforms to communicate with your staff and your partners and membership, or is it ideal to use all one platform for that as far as communication?
Now that would depend on the type of communication. Okay. For Church Community Builder, and I'll use that because that's what we use. If we needed to send out a message to leaders, we have a group with just leaders. And we also have a group with just partners. And so in one app, we have the ability to send out information to our congregation and send out information to our leaders. Excuse me. And so I think that you can have situations where you do use one app for everything, but our leaders are also part of our congregation. And so they also get our newsletter. So if we wanted to use something fancier for our newsletter and we send that out, then yes, we would send that to our partners and send that to our leaders because our leaders are a part of our partners. So I think it's best. I'm the type of person who wants to have everything in one. So if I need to send a message to leaders, I want to be able to do that and then hop over in the same app in another group and send a message to the partners. So I think it is ideal to have it in one.
Okay. That was really, really good, Shan. I have one more, maybe 1 or 2 more. Okay. I think this is a really, really good question. This is from Jamise Durden. She says, as an administrator, how do you balance your personal life with all the administrative duties?
Boundaries, 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 baby. Listen, I'm sorry. Okay, let me talk to you. What was her name? What was the name?
Her name is Jamise.
Jamise, girl. Okay, so listen, I am in school full time. I work for the church and I work for other people as well. And so for me, it is very important. Boundaries and time management. Okay, hear me. Time management is so important. And I don't get this right every day. And I feel the anxiety that comes from not planning out my day. I feel that I'm in school full time. I have projects that I'm working on, scripts that I have to write, papers that I have to write, things that I have to read. And if I don't put boundaries in place, if I don't say, okay, My work hours are from this point to this point, and as much as I love my job and I want to get all this stuff done, I have to make sure that I carve out time for myself. And that is essential for any admin, because oftentimes we may have work hours, but work hours can be a little fluid. Like they can,
Yeah.
And so if you don't say to yourself, this is what I'm going to do, and I think it's fair for you to be able to communicate. Like we have people on our staff now who say, okay, when I clock out on Thursday, I'm not back at work until Sunday, or I'm not back at work until Monday. And so my weekend is for me to do all the stuff that I need to do for myself. So it is an act of self-love for you to set boundaries around your time. My management at the top of every day, I like to do a brain dump. So if you're an admin, chances are your mind is always going a million miles a minute, and you have to do these brain dumps. I would say do one at night and do one in the morning, so you know exactly what needs to get done, exactly what's in your head is on paper, so you know I need to be working on this. And I would also say in your time in planning your time, allow there to be time for you to work on diversions. So a lot of times we'll be working on, okay, I need to get this form, I need to get this form created, and then all of a sudden somebody will send an email and they're like, hey, Bob needs a new email address. So what I do is I write down Tribe needs a new email address, and I go back to working on my form, because if I stop and work on Tribe needing an email address right now, I'm going to get lost in what I'm doing in the form, and then that causes anxiety, and I'm trying to figure out when I'm working on the email for Tribe, somebody else sends something. When you're working on something and you're focused on something, make sure you have something to be able to notate the things that come out while you're working on that particular project, and then carve out time in your planning to handle everything that came up as a diversion or a distraction. Handle all of that stuff in your time that you set aside for diversions or whatever.
Love it. Last question. You mentioned something about well, two more questions, just really quickly. Somebody's wanting to know the email that you said that they can get the information from.
Yes, admin, ADMIN, at all nations. There it is, NATIONSATL.org. I don't know if this is on YouTube. This thing that we're seeing at the bottom, is that on YouTube?
Yes, it's on there.
Oh, praise God.
Yes. So last question. You mentioned something about mind dumping. What does that look like for you?
Brain dumping. Okay, so
Brain dumping, yeah.
Oftentimes your brain is so powerful, it will remind you of the things that you still kind of need to take care of. So what I do is I just write them all down. So I'm thinking about the fact that I need to send a contract to this person, or I need to create an email address for this person. So writing everything that's in your mind, putting it on paper so that it's out of your mind, so that you're not thinking about it, you're not distracted by it in the middle of you doing something else. It's really simple. Just, it doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be pretty. You can, if you're using Gmail, you can pull up a little note and just type all the stuff that's in your mind. So whatever comes to mind, things that you need to work on. If you ask yourself, what am I supposed to be working on today? I guarantee you, your mind is going to bring back to your remembrance everything that you need to be working on that day, whether that's in your personal life or not. So this is not just for work. This is for personal and everything. I need to call my mama. I need to set an appointment for when the pandemic is up, so I can go get my hair done, like all the stuff.
Yeah.
Put it all on your brain dump sheet.
I love it. Channing, you have been a well and a wealth of really, really, really good stuff, really good knowledge. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your pour. And thank you for your preparation.
Hallelujah.
You guys, we are coming back at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our very own Pastor Taurus Solomon, and he's going to be talking through crisis management and supporting leadership. I will see you all back at 8 p.m. Love you guys.